Hi, I'm Eliana Butler. I'm the Executive Director for Sexual Assault Services of Northwest New Mexico. We are the Rape Crisis Center for the northwest part of the state. We serve all of San Juan County, Rio Arriba County from the Dulce Hickory Apache tribe this way, and McKinley County. We have offices here in Farmington and a sub-office down in Gallup. The overview of the services we provide are SANE, which some of you may know us for. It's the first program we started back in 2004. It stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiners, and they provide the medical forensic exams for survivors of sexual assault. We have rape crisis advocates who assist and team with the nurse at the time of the SANE exam to provide support services for the survivor and work with them ongoing after the exam, including working with law enforcement, working with the DA's office, and any kind of other need the survivor may have, from housing to food to replacement of items like glasses or car doors or locks. So they can follow the survivor as long as they want and assist them with as much as they need at the time of the exam. We also provide therapy services for survivors. That assault that the survivor comes in for therapy can have happened at any time in their lifetime. It doesn't have to be directly related to a recent assault. We've had people come in when the assault happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they are needing some assistance through the therapy department as well. And then we also do a lot of community education and prevention programs related to healthy relationships, safe dating, Sexual Assault 101, and a variety of other programs like child sexual assault prevention, working with adults, parents in the community on a variety of topics. We are asking for funding from United Way to help support the agency in serving survivors. There are a variety of funding sources we have that are very specific to direct services like advocacy, therapy, and the SANE exams. There are many things that we need help with that aren't funded by grants, and funding from United Way helps provide support to the agency as a whole. We have used United Way funding in the past to help fund our SANE program in particular. Again, that's the Sexual Assault Nurse Examiners program that assists survivors immediately after a sexual assault. We serve survivors who are all ages, both male and female, ages infant all the way to the elderly. And the funding from United Way has really assisted us in supporting that program. Now we are asking for the funding to expand to the agency as a whole to help us support all aspects of the programs that we serve. During the time of the pandemic, so since March of 2020, we have worked very hard to adapt our services because we have been deemed an essential service, and we've worked really hard to adapt the services to best meet our clients. Our therapy department has moved completely remote, so our therapists work from home and see their clients remotely, and we are also developing a Zoom support group, which we think are going to really help support survivors in that group setting to continue to work through their trauma. When it comes to SANE and our rape crisis advocacy program, it was a real challenge at first. It took a lot to get the appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment in, so that the SANEs, the advocates, and the patients were best protected while we served them here in-house. There was a time, a shortish time, a few months, where the advocates were completely off-site and not in person with the survivor, which was a real challenge. The advocates do an incredible job of supporting survivors, and so it's tough when you're not in-house with them. We since moved, because we have all the appropriate PPE in place, they're able to be here in person with the survivor. And so again, with the support of many community agencies, partners, volunteers, and our statewide collaborators, we have that protective equipment now so that we can continue to do the really important exams for survivors right after their sexual assault. Some of the challenges that we've experienced in this last year of work trying to continue to provide services due to with COVID happening they really vary from the rotating schedules of staff, so not having everyone here every day, rotating the advocates in, having them not be present for quite a few months with the SANE nurse at the time of the SANE exam became a real challenge. to really be able to provide the best type of advocacy services that we can. So we moved from totally remote advocacy on the phone to using a tablet that was present in this room while the nurse was talking to the survivor. And when we got all the the PPE, personal protective equipment in, that allowed everyone to be as safe as possible, then we brought the advocates back to be in person, distanced, to be able to really provide that service the best way we know how to survivors. Some of those other challenges related to advocacy included being able to go into the hospital to pick up a patient's prescription. Now they have to wait in the parking lot for someone to bring that out. There's a lot of little details that we had worked out over the years, and some of that just went out the door when it came to all of us, all providers, trying to figure out the safest and best way to provide services. We also stopped providing scene exams out at Northern Navajo Medical Center in Shiprock for quite a few months until both the hospital and us figured out the best way to safely have our staff go in to provide those services to survivors. So we had to arrange for survivors to come here to get their exam. It's the whole reason we started doing exams out there, because transportation became a real issue for survivors. So we were happy when we were able to work that out and began to start going back out there to do the SANE exams and the advocacy. Another challenge that we've experienced are COVID exposures. So if a staff member was exposed to COVID outside the office, we had a couple times where we needed to shut down the office. We deep cleaned it with professional cleaning service and had to stop at SANE exams for a short time. Luckily, in that case, we only had to stop for 24 hours, and we were able to shift and regroup and bring in additional nurses to be able to provide those services during that time. So that balancing act that we've all had to do during this last year has obviously been a challenge, but as an essential service, we've just been very committed to figuring out how to make it work so that we can do the best we can to serve survivors of sexual assault. I'd like to also mention a success, and we have lots of successes here. Sometimes they don't always sound like a success for survivors because someone's coming here on potentially the worst day or the worst event of their life. In our therapy services, I mentioned earlier that they're doing all of those services remote from home via Zoom counseling sessions for the most part that are in camera, over the camera. And what we've actually found is that people in therapy services are making more of their appointments, which has been kind of a surprise. We weren't expecting that, but transportation in our community is a real challenge for folks. Because we serve such a wide area, it sometimes has been hard for folks who want therapy to get here to receive those services. So we've worked out many different ways, the therapists have worked out many ways for survivors to access them, whether it's straight just a phone call for their session or the Zoom call over video. But we have found more people are making their appointment times, which has been a surprise to us, and really happy that we've been able to support people, because not only are they dealing with the stress and the after effects of the sexual assault, then the isolation related to COVID and everything else on top of that has added to those stressors. And so to keep people in therapy for this time has been very, very important. Another way we've adapted our services include how we are doing prevention and education work in the community this last year. It's been tough when everything shut down and continues to stay shut down, and students are mostly remote learning or in that hybrid model. The prevention programming we normally do in the schools basically came to a screeching halt. We were able to, with some COVID-specific funding, purchase some equipment from the prevention staff to record the Safe Dates, Healthy Relationship curriculum, so that we can literally give those recordings to schools on a jump drive, and they can show the curriculum online to students, or if they go back into class, they can still show it virtually. And then we're working out hopefully a one-time last session, sort of live in person or live via video, for the prevention staff to answer questions and check in with the students after they've watched the curriculum. So that has been both a real challenge in trying to figure out how to shift in-person learning to this online format, and also given us some new ways to reach very rural communities. One example is in Dulce, where we are a service provider our staff member that serves that area has been doing live 1 hour safe dates session over Zoom with that school. And we've done the same thing down in the Gallup area. So it's really stretched us in terms of how we do that work. But now moving forward, we are hoping that we can take that and expand it even when we're allowed to be back in person in the schools. In some schools, if we have the ability and the school has the ability to have the curriculum remotely, we now are getting to learn how to do that better and will hopefully help our outreach even more.